Hi, this is Magnus. Thanks for visiting the channel. Today I was playing a chap who attempted to cramp my position by using his pawns. And I often find this tactic quite challenging, so I thought it might be instructional to look through the game together. So I'm playing the white pieces, and I've no particular opening in mind other than to play my queen's pawn forward to get my minor pieces out and castle. I tend to get into less trouble when I play a queen's pawn lead than if I play a king's pawn. I think other people have done a lot more study on king's pawn leads than I have. So I get into less trouble with the queen's pawn, and that's why I've played it. Okay, so he responds with the queen's pawn too. I bring out a knight to support my pawn, and he brings a second pawn move. Now, I understand this because, of course, he's taking these squares away from my knight. Not that I intend to play either of those moves, but it's an understandable move. So I bring a bishop out, and now I get a third pawn move. Again, it's not a bad move at all. He's gaining a tempo off my bishop. I need to move it. I definitely don't want to move it in this direction because, the possibility of him trapping my bishop with his pawns. So I need to move it the other way, and I move it backwards. And already I've played a bad move here because I've really cramped my position a bit here. Difficult to get my bishop out and castle. So at this point I've decided, okay, that's an error, but it's not a disaster. I'll castle in the other direction. So I get my knight out, ready to do that. And he's played another pawn move. How many pawn moves? 4 at this point. And now a 5th pawn move. So I move my queen up, ready to castle. And look at that, he brings the queen out straight away. He knows I'm about to castle over this side, and he's preparing himself for an attack. So go ahead and castle. And now he's bringing support, attempting to marshal his forces, ready to mount a checkmate attempt. Okay, so I'm looking at his pawn structure now. When I have something like this where my position is cramped, I'm looking at how can I break his pawn structure up. And the pawn structure is supported at its base. These pawn chains are supported at their base by his minor pieces. If we look at this piece here, it's supported by his knight. And if we look at this pawn here, it's supported by his bishop. And of course, he's got his queen in front of this pawn. So difficult for me to break that up by using a piece. And in this situation, really, I'm thinking in terms of I need to break it up using a pawn break at some stage. Okay. So I just moved my queen out of this X-ray here. Don't like to. It's not a pin, of course, but I don't like to leave the queen there. You never know what might happen. I'm conscious of the fact that if he takes the knight, I'm going to retake it with the queen, but I just wanted the queen out of the way. Okay. So again, he brings another piece. And I think it's about time his bishop left. Following I think it was Bobby Fischer who said, when there are pieces in your camp, you need to neutralize them, either take them or get rid of them one way or another. I always used to be concerned about playing this move. When someone played a bishop or a knight in front of my castled king, in front of the pawns in front of my castle king, I was always concerned about, breaking up my little row of pawns. But having watched some really grandmasters playing games, I notice they're not at all concerned about making this move. So now I don't think twice about it. That will ensure he either takes my knight or moves away. So he decided to take my knight. I retook him with my queen, keeping my pawns nice and neat for the defense. And now he makes another pawn move. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, I do need to break up his pawn structure. I'm going to try to do that with a pawn break. So I offer him a pawn, and he declines. So my knight is under attack. I need to do something about that. So again, I move it away. At this point, I'm thinking, he's doing quite well. If you look at how much space he's got there, he's got all of this space here. He's done that with his pawns. And all of my pieces are cramped up here. But I have to continue with playing the best chess I can. I've got 3 pieces developed. He's got 2 pieces developed. I've got a slight lead there. And, can he checkmate me with these 2 pieces? Well, I guess he technically could, but I've got a lot of strength here ready to defend. So he then makes an interesting move, because by moving this knight, he has effectively abandoned the defense of this pawn. And if I look down here, I can see if I could just simply get my pawn out of the way, I could attack that pawn there, and of course possibly win his rook. So I need to be thinking about, how do I get my pawn out of the way? Okay, so I decide that I'll again challenge his pawns over here, just to see if we can create a little bit of space. And he moves that knight a second time. So that's interesting. He's moved the knight twice in a row. He's definitely got something in his mind with that knight. So what can he do with it? Well, these 2 squares are under attack, both defended. The bishop's defended by my queen. The pawn is defended twice. So I'm not concerned about him taking either of those. I'd rather not lose my bishop, but it's okay. I'm still thinking about breaking into his position. So I'm going to take his pawn. And I take. At the same time, I challenge his knight. So he needs to do something. And he decides to take back. Now, I'm pretty sure he's going to take one of these 2 pieces. And I'd really rather he took the pawn. So I move my bishop. And he does indeed take the pawn. Isn't that nice of him? That was a pawn I needed out of the way so that I could work on this diagonal here. I've only just learned how to draw lines in my videos, by the way, so forgive me if I'm a little less than slick at it just at the moment. Okay, so I just need to encourage his knight to move. So do that by moving this pawn forward. And he obliges. So look at that. I can now get my queen in there. And so, things are beginning to look a lot different. So he brings his rook across, and I can throw a check. And he voluntarily pins his rook. So immediately I'm thinking I need to get my rook over onto this file and go up there and take him. But I've got 2 pieces in the way, so I need to do this as quickly as I can. So I'm thinking in terms of taking his knight which of course is going to, he will need to take me back, so that consumes a bit of time, and it gets my bishop out of the way. So I willingly make this trade. And now I bring my rook across, and all I now need to do is to get my bishop out of the way to win his rook. Okay, he brings his knight across. Now, I don't know whether he's thinking in terms of defending this pawn here, and that's possibly in his mind, or he may be thinking about, again, he's moved the knight closer to my king, so, maybe he's still got checkmate on his mind at this point, especially with my queen away. So, I move my bishop out of the way, and he's about to lose his rook here, and he moves out of the way to avoid the check, but loses the rook. So he's in check, he needs to move, moves forward, and I can just pop that bishop back and check him again, which I do. Has to move or block. He decides to block with the pawn. I hit him with another check, and he brings a bishop to block. Now I could check him with either piece here, with my queen or my bishop. I'm going to do it with the bishop in order to free up my my rook to get into the action. So taking with the bishop pushes him back, and I can now see a checkmate. Hitting with a check with the queen, it has to move back, and there we go, checkmate. So I hope you found that game informative, because I think the whole tactic of pawn pushing, it can be really challenging, and I do really struggle with it. But you just have to stick to your guns, don't make any mistakes, watch out for the weaknesses in the pawn structure, and wait for them to move a piece away that's guarding a key pawn, or break through with a pawn break. If you're using a pawn break, you need to hit at the front of the pawn chain, or sometimes I hit in the middle just to break the pawn chain up. But it's not good chess, really. Having said that, grandmasters have used pawn pushing, so who's to say it's poor chess? But it certainly does go against chess principles to some extent. So you have to just wait for the opportunity to break through. Okay, so that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.